Ylonda, welcome to the Transition Coach podcast.
Good morning for me.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
morning. Good morning.
And good evening from Qatar. Yeah.
Good morning from where am I? I want to say if I say my hometown, nobody really knows it. So I say Metro Atlanta, Georgia.
Lovely. Yeah.
I'm in a suburb that just got its own city rights. So we're right outside of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm Metro downtown.
Awesome. Awesome. Ylonda,
hmm
we request you to please introduce yourself to all of us here.
I am Ylonda Ray, and I have been in the corporate leadership environment for almost 30 years. And it wasn't voluntary from involuntarily, my position was eliminated about a couple years ago. And and although I was ready, sometimes the universe helps make you ready, right? To transition. And so I'm a woman in transition, and coaching has always been um, something that I've done in my past almost 30 years, 20 plus years of leading people. And it was something that I found I was passionate about. And because of that, I went back to school and actually got a degree in my master's in coaching and leadership development because I wanted to understand the true framework
Mm.
and the science behind the research behind effective coaching. So I'm now a lot of things have gone along along the way since I left corporate for some time now. I took some time off just to hang with family and friends, and I got some new grandbabies that I wanted to spend some time with. Some things have happened medically, so when you think you have this thing all figured out, you get these bumps along the way. And I've always seen myself as an overcomer, and one of my mantras have been everything works together for the good. So I'm looking for the good on the other side of this, right? This stuff that happened, this stuff that comes up, right? Because as the young people say, life be lifing. That's the trend. Yeah, that's the phrase now. Oh yeah, yeah. Nana, life be lifing. I was like, yeah, well, so life be lifing. And I've always had the mindset of, well, not always, but I have learned from my own sanctity and to have the mindset of this too shall pass. And so just newly I understand the power of education, going back, getting my coaching certification. I'm still in that process to get credentialed. But like I said, a few setbacks, but nothing that I can't overcome at this stage and go ahead on and create the life that I want, the coaching career that I want. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I'm a mother of four. I'm a grandmother of nine. And yeah, it's just been good life. Just okay, what do I learn today? What do I learn today? What is today going to teach me? So that's kind of who I am in a nutshell.
Wonderful. I mean, it's fabulous. You're a mother of some beautiful children. You're a grandmother and an overcomer, which is your mantra, you said.
Yeah, yeah. This too shall pass.
And this too shall pass. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
I will, of
absolutely.
course, get to know more about this as we move
hmm
ahead, about what you
hmm
mean by these sentences, your
Yeah.
phrases, right?
Yes.
Uh, does it feel like that was always who you were, or someone you had to grow into, of all the things that you said?
Great question. I'm writing part of my memoirs, so I've actually recently started to reflect on all of this, because my daughter asked me once. She says, "Mommy, I have a 41-year-old," and she says, "Mommy, how do you get to be so resilient and just bounce back at things?" I say, that's a very good question. let me think about it for a minute. And as I've been writing, I I actually been kind of devoting more time to writing in this transition
Mhm.
than even in my coaching business because as I'm writing my memoirs and understanding is kind of helping me to understand me and truly where I come from, right? So, and I said, now I think what it was, and to your point, no, I wasn't always this way to a point. I think I built upon it. But initially, I think it started out because I had a grandmother who was very industrious. She always had she worked, she had small businesses. And my grandmother raised me. And although I got um, pregnant really early with my daughter as a teenager, I didn't want to be a statistic. I was determined not to be a statistic because of, being a young mother and just to fall into the habit of just, having more kids, not being educated, getting married so young and stuck in a marriage. I didn't want any of that. And my grandmother, thankfully, she saw that as well. And she said, "No, you're going to go on. You're going to get your education. You're going to do X, Y, and Z." I didn't want to disappoint her. And as I look back, I realized I have built upon that, not first initially in that inherited value of not wanting to disappoint her, and then building that, realize that it's a part of me as well. I don't want to disappoint me, right? What are my
Mm.
values? So I've learned, and that's what I probably learned in the last maybe 20 years or 10 years, 15, something like that, that I built upon that to understand that I didn't want to disappoint me. I want to have goals and integrity comes to mind. Integrity for myself, for me, for what I value. Because in my mind, I've come to learn and understand that if I don't honor my own values and my own integrity, nobody else will. And so that kind of has been the bedrock of my foundation. But I realized it started with my grandmother because I did not want to disappoint her. She was very strict. She was very, very intentional. And I was determined. I know I did this. I got pregnant early and I'm not going to, I promise you, I'm going to be okay. And I realized as I'm writing my memoirs that that is really, I said, you know what? That was my motivation. That was my initial motivation.
So you have, I'm sure you made your grandmother extremely proud of all
I
that
hope
you
so.
said.
She died.
Mhm.
She died when I was kind of young in my career, but I hope I,
Okay.
yes.
Uh, see, now, did you mention 20 years in corporate leadership? Was it 20
Yeah,
years?
20
Okay.
plus. Yeah.
20
Hmm.
plus years. That was a very, very long time, I must say.
Yes. Yes.
So, what did that season actually look like? And was there a moment when something inside you said that this isn't enough anymore?
Funny enough, it's never been enough. I always saw it as a means to an end, which is really not a good thing, right? When you're talking about goals. Corporate was always a means to an end for me. And then, but then I learned to love the parts that I loved.
Hmm.
And that was the people. And I got a chance to motivate, influence, encourage, guide young
Hmm.
leaders or people,
Hmm.
period, who wanted to go on with their career. That's why I stayed in the corporate environment. I liked none of the corporate, all the politics. And in fact, my leader used to tell me, Yolanda, you are not very political. I say, you're absolutely right. I'm not. Um, and I don't want to be vulgar, but or crass aside, but I have a low BS barometer. I used to tell him BS barometer. You know what BS is, and I can spot BS a mile away, and I just don't want to play. I tell him I don't want to play. I don't want to play these games with you all. I want to come here. I want to do the best job. I want to support my people. I want to support the organization. Why can't that be enough? But no, you got to be organizational savvy, and that means just political, very political. So I knew how to play the political game. I had to, but it wasn't who I was at the core. right? So I raised my children after, you know, failed relationships, as a single mom for most of my life. And for me, going back to school, getting my bachelor's, going back to school, getting my master's, it was a means to an end to make sure I could give my children a good life. So it wasn't really corporate that drove me. It was my family that drove me and the people I supported, the people I got to support who I've seen to go on to build great careers. It was very soul satisfying for me. All the other stuff, the politics and all of that, I absolutely hated it. And I don't know if you can imagine, but being a woman in corporate and then a black woman in corporate, it was some pretty tough rows. As my grandmother used to say, um, pretty tough rows to hoe. That's a colloquialism in the South, when things are hard, but you keep on doing it, right? Because you got a goal in mind. And I had a goal in mind, and that was to make sure my children felt safe and secure. And I know working in this environment and making this money could do that for us. That was my motivation just to take care of my family and then support the people who came across my path to influence, to guide, to motivate. I kind of shut out the rest of the world when it came to corporate. I wasn't an ideal corporate player, if that makes sense. I wasn't.
I absolutely, uh, I can understand, of course, and absolutely agree. And I've seen you doing that. You're always showing up for everyone, me and whoever needs your. They just have to say, remember Yolanda, that Yolanda is there, and
I
your love
appreciate
for
that.
people.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that because I really
Yes.
that's what I value. And it's something I do without even thinking sometimes. It's just, support, show up, be there. Because in the end, Coach Debjani, that's all we have is each other. And I do realize that. So if you are, from a corporate perspective, if I had people who were put under my charge or under my auspices, it was my responsibility to do my everything in my power to make sure they get to where they want to be next. And I took that seriously. I took my stewardship over their professional careers very seriously.
You took a stewardship over there for the professional career you mentioned. So, what did the when you s- if you when you think about it, when you told yourself about this? So, what did that voice sound like? Was it loud?
Very loud. I'm responsible. I'm responsible for these people, just like I was responsible for making my children feel safe and secure in our own home. From a personal profession perspective,
Mm,
I was just as responsible for people who were put into my charge and my care. As a leader, I was just as equally responsible to have that conversation with them. That's why talking to
yeah.
your employees is so important. Engaging with your employees, understanding
Mm,
who your employees are beyond the role that they're in, beyond that chair. You need to connect with them and understand, well, who are you? And help them to understand, well, where do you want to go? And what do you need to do to get there? What gaps do you need to fill? What do you need to overcome? Because I can't want it. That's one thing. I can't want it more than they do. But I'm going to be here to support you and guide you along the way. And if I don't know it, I'm going to try to get somebody who can help you, help you to understand. You need a leader. You need a mentor, and try to encourage people, especially those who wanted to climb that ladder, corporate ladder. You need mentors in your space. You need mentors of
mm.
all, at least three different kinds of mentors, personal, professional, and at least two. You need that. So help them to understand what they needed, um, to climb this corporate ladder and be successful in it, if that's what they truly wanted. It just didn't come poof, right? You gotta want it. You gotta know what to do. And I served as a guide for them to get there.
Yeah, a guide, a mentor, and I'm sure the
Mentor,
organization
yeah.
must have been so very fortunate to have you as their um, senior, in the senior leadership position. I'm 100% sure. Uh, Now, so talking about transition, what was the real conversation going on inside you when you started thinking about leaving?
Oh, well, even when my position was eliminated, I changed from being a leader of almost 100 people. And I had done that for years, right? I had leaders reporting to me who had people for years. And I kind of got burnt out after COVID. Um, no, I really got burned out after COVID. And
Hmm.
I wanted to be, I had not been an individual contributor in over 20 years. So it's like, and maybe 15 to 20 years, I had not been an individual contributor. And I felt that it was time. I said, you know what? I want to be an individual contributor. That was the first conversation. So I don't want to lead people anymore. I think I've learned enough about so many aspects of corporate that I could be good in a what we call center of excellence. And so I transitioned to a center of excellence in the talent planning and performance evaluation space. And that's the position that, financial issues happen is, and HR is one of the areas that they'll usually get clip roles from real easy, right? Especially individual contributor roles. They just cut those roles. And it was fine because in my mind, I was like, okay, it's time for my transition. I had started taking my credit, getting my certification. All of this was going on because I knew I was a woman in transition. I knew it was time for me to transition. So in the backdrop while working, I was getting my certification with CAP Institute, and all of this is going on. I
Hmm.
got ill during the first my first session with him, so I had to retake everything. But yeah, this is going in the background. Okay, what does transition look like? How do I prepare for it? What do I need to
Hmm.
do? I need a certification. Same things I tell the people who reported to me,
Hmm.
right? What do you want to do? What are the gaps you need to fill? Do you need to get additional education? Do you need to get acquire a different skill, right, in order to be effective? So I knew I had to be certified, and I started that journey, and I'm still on that journey. Kind of had, like I said, some setbacks, but it's all good. I need to take care of some other things first that life came up, right? So but yeah, how do I close that gap to ensure that I'm successful? Education is very important to me. I'm a lifelong learner. That I'll come to understand. I value learning. And so in the back of my mind, while I'm working, all this corporate stuff is working my regular corporate job. I'm working on my certifications and everything that I need to do to make me a successful coach. So that conversation in the back of my hand, well, what do you need to do?
Okay,
What do you need to do?
now let me ask you a question. Did anyone try to talk you out of it when you were thinking of moving, moving out?
Oddly enough, um, I didn't share it with anybody in the corporate environment. No one. Um, I've learned that sometimes, you don't share your goals and your aspirations with certain people. So I don't think I shared it with anybody in the corporate environment, like leaders and what have you, in terms of what I wanted to do next. But my close girlfriends and people who've been with me along this journey, I was just encouraged. I got no one to no to speak negatively about it. They were just, you know what, you're natural at it. You should do it. You're natural at it. Go for it.
Hmm.
The only time I've ever gotten any pushback in my journey was when I decided to work on my master's. And I did share that in a corporate environment, and I had people tell me, "Oh my God, you're going back to school, really?" I say, "Yeah, because I got my master's later, right, in my professional career and educational career, and I did get some. Why are you going back to school? You're going to spend that money to go back to school now." I was like, "Yeah, I want to go back to school." So, but from a coaching perspective and who I shared it with, I only got encouragement, only encouragement.
Yeah, like you mentioned, of course, that your people who are close to you, your friends said that it is very natural for you. Things come to move, to take new decisions. But there is a difference between knowing that you need to change and actually deciding to. What
Yes.
finally moved you across that gap?
Home Depot did it for me. They eliminated my position. My position
Oh,
was eliminated. When I got to be an individual contributor, my
hmm,
position was eliminated. And oddly enough, I was okay with it. I really was okay with it. I said, okay, all right. I'm like,
hmm,
universe, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you.
okay.
Um, I was absolutely okay. I was absolutely okay. And I could have moved back. Because I was actually in another state when my position was eliminated. And all the jobs that I could have gotten I had moved away from Atlanta. I was in South Florida. And in the position that I could have, uh, transitioned into for Home Depot, I had to be in Georgia. And I wasn't in Georgia. So, and I wasn't ready to
Hmm,
move back to Georgia. So I said, well, I guess that's end of the Home Depot era because I spoke with my VP and he says, Yolanda, we've got plenty of positions you can apply for that you'll be successful in. And then I said, but I'm in South Florida and I have to be in Atlanta for that. And so that's not going to happen right now. And so I kind of just moved on from that. I took some time off because I've been working since I was 15. It's the first time I ever was working. And I took some time off. And I took my time finding that next position for me because I still had things to do. I still wanted to work as I build this other part of my life. But yeah, Home Depot resoundingly made that they made a decision for me. And I just rolled with it. Like,
hmm.
okay, okay, universe, I got it. I hear you, right? Okay, so now what, right? So I had to fill in the now what. What's the next
Hmm.
action? What's the next action for now what? Right? Because
Okay.
I understand that you can plan things, but you always got to be able ready to pivot, to move, right? To change. Because the only thing we know is constant in this life is change. And I got that early. You got to pivot. You got to learn to be able to pivot. You got to be able to course correct, right? And so that was the question I had. Okay, now what? Now what do you do?
The change is the only constant, you said. You need to course correct, you said. Now, it was not by the thing is like you were mentioning about going back to school, right? It was amazing, I feel. And going back to school for masters in the psychology of leadership development, and while you were building your practice, I'm sure that was not easy. So, what did that chapter teach you about yourself?
Well, and actually, from a timeline perspective, I haven't already gotten my master's when I decided to go for my coaching.
Hmm.
I actually went for my coaching certification when I transitioned from leading people, because leading people is so much more, uh, shall we say, so much more involved. To me, you almost in certain roles, you got to always be on, especially in the role that I was in. You literally always got to be on. I was in a very compliant heavy position and getting weekend emails and calls and was not unusual, right? From my leadership team to say, "Oh, this happened. Can you take care of this? This happened. Can you take care of this?" It was constant. I literally got burnt out. I was burnt out, especially
Hmm.
during COVID. Oh my God, it was so I had already gotten my master's before then.
Before
And
that.
that was tough. Working on my master's and going and working in corporate it was tough.
So,
That was tough.
so what did that, how would you describe yourself when you were doing both, doing the masters and the, of course,
Oh,
you did mention, I remember, that you wanted to give good education to your children. You did
yes.
masters. That was one of the reasons. And you also wanted to be, you would like to guide, you know, you did
Yeah.
coaching for coaching and guide others. So what else?
Well, and then you have all you juggling balls in this life, you got to juggle the balls that's in the air, right? In that I made a decision to go back to school and get my master's while I was in a corporate environment, while I was
Hmm.
leading people, while I was it was tough. In fact, I when I initially started getting my master's, I took 2 classes. It was overwhelming. It was too much. So I said, okay, this is going to take me a little longer because I can only do 1 class per semester because it's so involved. A lot of writing, a lot of reading. And I
Mm.
decided that, okay, I can't do 2 classes. That 2 classes and working, a 50 hour work week, sometimes more, it was just too much. And having a family at home, it was too much. It was overwhelming. So from there, it taught me, okay, just take 1 class. It'll take you longer to get your master's, but it's okay, right? Do
Mm.
what you can do and be mindful of it. Be very mindful of that. I got to take care of me as well, right? Because if
Where
I
did you get
break
all this
down,
wisdom from? Who was your
I
role model?
I would
Grandmother?
say my grandmother. My grandmother was so industrious. She was so industrious. And my mom too. I saw her overcome so many obstacles, and I never saw her. And I believe that's one of the reasons my mom got sick. I never saw her share or outpour, or I think because she kept so much inside, I literally think that's one of the reasons she got sick from cancer. And she because she internalized so much of the hardship in her life, as opposed to talking about it, expressing it, getting help about it. And I was determined that's not going to be me, right? Because I do believe that's what happened to her. Because I do believe the body keeps scores. The body keeps scores. I read it's a really great book, and it makes sense. And so yeah, my mom, I just saw how she was overcoming the obstacles that she overcome to until the day she died. She was incredible. But I think just the women being brought up by women, just strong women who were determined to build a successful life for themselves and their family.
Very, very, very powerful when women are helping other women, like your grandmother, mother, you, following the same path. That support, that having such role models is extremely, extremely powerful.
Yeah, and
Yolanda,
important.
I know you for quite a while now, and
Yes.
a lot of times you've used this beautiful phrase, helping people become the CEO of their own lives. Helping people become the CEO of their own lives. I just love that. How would you elaborate on this so that our listeners really, really get to understand? CEO is not that just about it's a position, it's a leader title, it's not that. So could you please elaborate on that?
I tell you what resonated, being in the corporate environment for so long. I know everyone could identify with the CEO. It's one of those universal terms, right? Chief Executive Officer. Everybody understands it. I mean, you can talk to almost anybody in any part of the world, almost, right? And they understand what a CEO is. That's the person in charge. That's the person at the top. That's the person who's responsible for making the company successful. I wanted people to understand that my clients and potential clients, the same principles you should apply to your own life.
Mm.
Those principles, they work in the corporate environment, they work in your life because you are the CEO. Your life is your organization, it's your business, your life. So, who is supposed to be in control? And how do you
Mm.
be in control? How do you be on the top? How do you set goals and go for them? How do you set goals and prepare for them? How do you course correct when something doesn't happen? Who's on your board of directors? And your board of directors, that's your support team, right? The analogies were there, right? Your board of directors, just like a board of directors support the CEO, your board of directors, who supports you in your life? Who can you go to? Who are your friends that you can talk to? Who are going to give you guidance? Who are those mentors? That's your board of directors. I knew the principles. I know the principles. They're transform. They're trying. You're able to transform those those principles, is that the word I'm looking for? You can transform those principles into your own life to be successful. I knew the term, people could identify with it, and that's why it resonated with me. When I first saw it, I said, yeah, people understand that, right? What is, the CEO and their the vision and the purpose. So what is your vision? What is your purpose in all of this, in building your life, in building and creating the life that you want? You can be this, you
Mm.
got to be the CEO of it. You can't let somebody else,
Wonderful.
tell you
Yeah.
what you need or want, and you think you're gonna, and you are the one in charge. It no
Hmm.
longer becomes your life. So that's why it resonated with me so much.
It's extremely, it's a great, very, very great point. And I wish, each one of us remind ourselves of this. And then I'm sure
Yes.
each one will be able to take the next decision, take the next step, and be happy and make the people around happy. It's excellent point. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. It trickles
Yolanda,
down, right? The
yeah,
CEO sets the tone for the
sets
culture
the
of the
tone.
company.
Yes,
So you
yes,
should set the tone for the culture of the life that you want to create.
yes. Whether whichever environment, whether your home or your community, don't you think
Yes.
so? Yeah.
Yes,
But tell me
absolutely.
just, help me to understand um, when someone is standing at the edge, okay, what is actually happening inside them that you cannot even name?
I think for me, it would be, I think when people don't have a support system,
Hmm.
when they've not built a support system, if you don't
Hmm.
have anybody you can reach out to and say, hey, this is going on for me. Help me to unpack this. Help me to digest what's going on. That's so
Hmm.
important. You got to have people. You got to have your persons in your life that you can reach out to. It's so important. You know what?
Hmm.
We weren't born in a culture, in a world where we were meant to not be alone. We were born into relationship, and
Hmm.
those relationships, the quality of those relationships are so important. And I have been fortunate to show up the way and represent the way I want to be represented in my life. So I show
Hmm.
up in a relationship. I show up as a good friend. I
Hmm.
show up as a mentor. And therefore, I have those powerful relationships in my life. So when I get stuck and on that edge, I don't feel
Hmm.
alone. I'm not
Hmm.
alone. And then I think that divine intervention as well. I believe that you got to believe in something greater than yourself, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you call it, you got to believe that it's something. You can't be the end all be all, right? Because if
Hmm.
you are,
Yes.
then I believe that you just got to believe in divine intervention. You got to believe in something greater than you, that you can reach out to, that you can grab hold to, along with the relationships in your life when you're at the edge. And if you don't have that, guess what? You jump off.
Hmm.
Because
Yes.
you don't have anybody
Yes.
pulling you back to say, no, 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 no. We got this. We can work through this. Let's course correct. Let's talk. What are you feeling? What's going on? How do we move
Yeah.
through this? You got to
Yeah.
have, whether it's a professional person you need to talk to and understand that
Hmm.
and be vulnerable with, or it's
Hmm.
a good friend, or it's somebody to say, I
Hmm.
got you, because you have purposefully built that support system into your life.
Now, if for the person who's listening, for the person listening who knows that something needs to shift but is scared and doesn't know where to start, okay, something needs to shift but is scared, doesn't know where to start. What do you want them to hear today?
I want them to, first of all, be quiet, be still, listen to themselves. Just get in a
Hmm.
quiet place and ask
Hmm.
questions, to ask why. Why am I feeling this way? What's really going on? You may not even have answers, but you become aware. I think awareness of the why. Why are you feeling this way? What's going on? We're so afraid to ask those questions and look in the mirror of ourselves, right? But self awareness is where all of this starts. If you are not acutely aware of what's going on with you, then you are going to continually be lost. It starts with self awareness and asking the
Mm,
questions why. You should not overlook any feelings, any emotions. You should ask yourself, what's really going on? Why do I feel this way? Even if you don't have an answer, you become aware of the emotion. You become aware
mm,
of when I feel like this, what is going on?
yeah.
When I feel
So,
like this in my life, what's going on? Who are the people around or not around? Or what situation am I in? You become awareness and then you begin to learn you. You begin to learn you. You begin to learn what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what makes you feel all in different ways. Emotions are made or designed to be expressed. And
mm,
how we express them determines the quality of our life, right? You don't hurt
mm,
yourself, you don't hurt other people, and you don't hurt the environment, but you need to express them. And I think
mm,
all too often in our lives, we just overlook things. We don't take
yes.
time to take the be quiet,
Mm.
be quiet and
Especially
listen.
today's time, I think there's such a
Yeah,
lot of the
everything
reasons
is,
for
you know,
people. Yeah.
they want
And
answers right now, and they are looking for answers existentially, right? You need to look for
there's a
answers
reason also, I feel that. But they
yeah,
want reason,
inside.
answers because so much is going on nowadays. It's very different
Yeah,
from what it was
yeah.
even maybe 10 years ago,
Oh,
7 years
absolutely.
ago. Things have become different.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then
Yeah.
what I understand from you, and you said, is to pause. First,
Yeah.
listen to your own voice. First, listen.
Pause.
Mhm.
Listen. Ask
Yes.
questions of yourself about yourself.
Mhm.
Why am I feeling
When
this
would they do
way?
that?
Yeah.
When would they do that?
Immediately, when you feel the need, when you start feeling overwhelmed, you need to pause. You need to pause when you start feeling overwhelmed and you don't it works for me. I pause. I was like, okay, because you're on one trajectory. You think you got this thing all planned out, right? It's like I was working on my
Mm,
credentials work and then I had a car accident that hurt my knee. I can't walk like I used to and all of this. So it getting inside my head, I'm like, oh my God, this is the so I had to say, okay, stop. Just pause. Pause. Let's think about where you are. Let's breathe through this, right? So I believe in breathing and meditation and prayer. I believe in all of this. Sit for a moment with yourself. You do it
mm,
immediately when it comes up. You can take 3 deep breaths. You could be in the middle of a staff meeting and something comes up and all that stress comes up and you can just stop and you can come back to self. You can come back to balance. You can come back to okay, let me course correct. Let me and it depends on what you can be anywhere. And that's what I have learned that works for me. I have to stop. I have to pause. I'm pausing even if people don't know I'm pausing. I'm pausing just to listen and say, Yolanda, what's going on? What's really going on? And then what do I need to do? Who do I need to reach out to? Is
mm,
there somebody I can reach out to? And for me, I've built a life where I have built those relationships that I can reach out because and I tell you, I'll leave you with this one young lady at work for me one time. She was having some problems. She was a high performer, and I saw her performance going down. And in speaking to her leader, her supervisor, I said, "What's going on with this young lady?" And she says, I'm not sure because she's a high performer, but her great, her performance is slipping. So because I knew the young lady, I told her I wanted to meet with her, and first she thought she was in trouble. But I said, no, when you come meet your boss's boss, you think you're in trouble, right? But it's just, I saw so much in her. I saw the potential in her, and I just wanted to understand. And just in speaking to her, she just told me everything that she had going on in her life. Just,
mm.
it was a lot. right? And as I put my mentor hat on, and I just said, and a friend, I says, you know what are your options? And she came up with a good option for herself, and she learned that there are always just somebody you can talk to. Don't feel like you got to go through stuff alone. If you want friends, you got to be friendly. You got to be a friend, right?
Yeah,
If you want great relationships, you got to build great relationships, and don't feel like you got to go through this alone. So I think
yeah,
that has kind of been the mantra for me, the foundation of my life,
yeah.
um, to have
So,
those
what's that
relationships.
one question uh, the listeners should ask themselves tonight? Just one question.
Who am I? What do I value?
Very,
That's
very
two.
powerful. Very
What
powerful.
what do I value?
Yes,
What's important to me?
yes.
What do I value? You would be surprised. I asked that to clients and potential clients, and they have no words for it. I know I've never thought about it. And I asked them to look at their lives and the things that's important to them and the things that they champion, the things that's
Hmm.
priority to them. I said, those
Hmm.
are your values. Those are the things that you value, especially if you see it repeatedly over in
Yeah.
your life.
So,
What
who am
who
I? That's the
and what do
question.
yeah, who am I? And it brings up,
Yes.
what do I value? Who am
What
I?
do I value?
Yeah.
Uh, I think we've almost come to the end of the conversation, Yolanda. You started with getting, your time days with your grandmother, getting married at the age of 18, then doing all your education, working in the corporate for so many 20 years and
No, I
plus
wasn't
years.
married. That was the problem. I had a baby at 15. I
Oh,
wasn't
sorry,
married.
I'm
I was
sorry.
determined. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay, all right.
I
I
had a
got that you
child
are,
young at an age,
yeah,
and my grandmother's the one saying, no, she is not getting married. My grandmother, she is too young, too young.
yeah,
I'm glad she did.
yeah. So from there you've come so, so far, right? 20 plus years in the corporate, then you did your masters, then you're still studying, still doing a lot of certifications, and
Yes.
so industrious, your integrity, your love for people. And so now, what do you know about transition now that you wish more people understood before they go through one?
I
The
think you gotta
transition
trust,
everybody goes through.
gotta trust the process, right? You've got to
Little
trust
louder,
the process.
please. Yeah,
You gotta trust. I feel you gotta trust the process.
thank you.
And I feel like you
Yes.
just got to trust the process. And what worked before? Yeah, what worked
Hmm.
before? And what
Hmm.
have you seen work? And the process you put in place, did it work? Did it work for you? You got to trust the process.
Wonderful. Trust the process. Yes.
Because
Beautiful.
trusting the process for me is trusting you. I got to trust
Who
me,
am
right? Because
I?
I'm the one putting it in place. So I got to trust me.
Trust
Yeah.
me. Who am I? What are my values? That's what I learned.
Yeah.
Trust the process.
Yeah.
What are my
Yeah.
values? So it was a very, very, thank you so much for giving your time and talking, sharing so much about all the words of wisdom which you lived for so many years starting from your childhood, I can say, so from your teenage years, maybe before that, and your grandmother, mother, you got all these women in your family, your support system, your people
Yes.
around you,
My
and
support system. Yeah. That's so
so
important. So important.
so important. So when we have people like you, I think all of us we should feel that we don't have to figure out your transition alone,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
I don't think we need to wait to have all the answers.
Right. 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 Exactly. Because I can reach out to Coach Debjani. I can, and hey, I'm
Yes,
stuck on this, right? I don't have to go through this alone, this transition. Like I said, I'm in transition. I had the car accident and I like, okay, tell me. I reached out to my girlfriends and people who I know absolutely love me. And the special person in my life. I was like, babe, oh, I'm going through all of this in my head. He's like, okay, babe, let's get to where we need to be. So I just think if we fail to realize the importance of that support system, oh my goodness,
Yeah,
it's invaluable in our lives.
very, very touching, very touching.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Yolanda. And
Thank
thank
you.
you, everyone, for listening to Transition Coach podcast today and hearing Coach Yolanda's words of wisdom which she lived all through. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Coach Debjani. And thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Bye.
I just